Ben10, alien transformations dominate the universe. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11. Time was frozen, the rainstorm that had not yet landed stood still in midair, and everything around it was paused. The surrounding buildings have been cut open, and there is no longer the grandeur of the previous sense. The air was densely covered with flat walls, and Lin Tian stood on one of the walls, maintaining his previous movements and standing there quietly. Just a test, I didn't expect you to give me so many surprises. Gui flew to Lin Tian, who was stilled, and chuckled. As one of the 6 rough stones in the universe, the time gem has absolute control over time, of which pausing time is one of the time gem abilities. Facing the perverted movement speed of the flash star, for a while, she really couldn't think of anything better to pay attention except for the pause time. In the past, most of the opponents she faced were dark magicians. The battles between are also done through magic. But in the face of the changeable Lin Tian in front of her, her magic seems to be a little ineffective. Of course, Gui only wanted to see Lin Tian's strength, and had no intention of killing him, and also converged some of his own abilities. After all, Earth is about to have one less guardian, and she needs someone more powerful to stand up. Fiorucci looked at the stationary flash star in front of him, suddenly thought of something, lowered his head and sighed, "If you can, I hope you can help me one." Gui was about to say his request, but unfortunately before the words fell, the deformation table symbol on Lin Tian's chest suddenly emitted a dazzling blue light. The blue light covered this area, and the dazzling light made Gui subconsciously narrow his eyes, and the unspoken request was also interrupted under strong curiosity. The next moment, the blue light dispersed, and a white ghost floated in the air and appeared in front of Gui. Amazingly, this ghost only has one eye. Between the top of its head and its neck, there was a black slit, and that purple eye moved back and forth in the slit. This is exactly the ghost that was activated by the impact of the ancient magic power. Although the ghost has no resistance to the sun, it is night and there is no sunlight, so it can move freely. And its ability is exactly that, immune to all physical attacks and magic attacks. In other words, the time gem and the supreme mage Gui in front of him did no harm to him. Even as long as he is in this state, there is no means to cause harm to him except sunlight. You. What are you here? Fiorucci looked at the ghost, and after 2 seconds, he exclaimed in puzzlement. In the origin time realm, she had clearly paused time, and no one except her had lost the ability to move. And this guy in front of him not only broke the time field, but also transformed again? I've used all my time gems. That's the power of the time rough, one of the 6 rough stones of the universe. Why is it useless for him? Gui never dreamed that this guy was fighting and evolving again? And what happens to be an evolved species that happens to be immune to its own attacks? Well, that's how it feels to become a ghost. Lin Tian looked down at his paws in surprise. He was also the first time he turned into a ghost. Although this guy has no combat effectiveness, he can ignore all attacks. You can also easily cross between obstacles. This ability, no matter what strange monsters you encounter, at least have the ability to save your life. Does that mean that the snapping fingers of purple sweet potato essence are useless to me? Lin Tian suddenly thought of something and chuckled. Immediately afterwards, after Lin Tian put his hand into the wall next to him, as he expected, his arm went straight through. After the arm was extended, there was not a trace of destruction on the wall. Seeing this, Lin Tian showed an excited smile. In the future, if you peek at who is bathing, it will be much more convenient. God of War. After seeing this scene, Gui's expression suddenly became serious, and his attitude straightened up from the previous playfulness. Lin Tian was constantly exploring his new abilities, and when he heard Gui call himself the God of War again, he reluctantly raised his head. "Mrs. Shi, are you in trouble?" Gui was about to say his request again, when he heard the title of Shirtai. His expression quickly froze. She is also a person born in the western regions of China, where the religious culture is prosperous. She is still no stranger to the title of Shirtai. This guy, calling himself a nun? Episode 12, God of War. Gui took a deep breath, calmed the fluctuations in his heart, and said in a deep voice. God of War, I will disappear from this world in a short time, and then a young man will take my place. He'll be the best rough guardian, but he still needs to grow, so I want you to help him when you need it. Gui said in a calm tone, very calm. After speaking, Gui's gaze moved to Lin Tian's face, wanting to see his reaction. His mind moved, and Lin Tian returned to his human form from a ghostly shadow. I don't have a habit of helping others. Lin Tian shook his head and refused. In the timeline setting, Fiorucci has been living forever because he absorbed the dark power, but when Doctor Strange appeared, in order to let Doctor Strange better inherit her identity, she chose death. And Gui's appearance today is probably already aware of his future, So he came to find Lin Tian for help, wanting him to help the growing Doctor Strange at a critical moment. Faced with Lin Tian's refusal, Guilin froze. She didn't seem to expect Lin Tian to refuse, or she didn't expect her to refuse so crisply. After a brief trance, Gui suddenly looked at Lin Tian and chuckled. Now I firmly believe that you will be the omnipotent god of war. After putting down this inexplicable sentence, Gui smiled and flew away with his hands behind his back. What the hell? Lin Tian looked at Gui's disappearing back in confusion, completely unclear. As soon as he came up, he called himself the god of war, and after the request was rejected, he could still leave satisfied? This guy can't cultivate the Tao and cultivate stupidly, right? With Furuchi's departure, everything around him is also recovering rapidly. As if it had been thrown upside down, the rainwater on the ground rose from the ground, returned to the shape of a droplet, and flew into the sky. The building that was cut by magic also bent and bent continuously, and this raging fire also burrowed into the wall and disappeared completely. Lin Tian's body also slowly flew towards the restored house. The next second when Lin Tian entered the house, the glass that disappeared out of thin air reappeared. In just a few seconds, this mess was completely restored with the disappearance of Gui. Everything was as if it hadn't happened. Your home, nicely decorated, Wanda said, looking at the mural in front of her. Because he just met Lin Tian, Wanda still looked a little restrained. It's okay, I was given when I bought it. Lin Tian lay on the sofa and said absent-mindedly. Recalling the scene just now, he suddenly thought that Gui looked such a weak woman, and he didn't know how long the four-handed overlord could cry with one punch. After hearing this, Wanda turned to look at Lin Feng, as if she suddenly thought of something important. Wanda walked over with a serious face. Then he held the back of the sofa with one hand, and the sofa cushion with the other, and his eyes were firmly fixed on Lin Tian's face. This scene looks like Wanda will knock Lin Tian in the next moment. When Lin Tian was thinking about something, he was startled by the sudden appearance of Wanda. You. What are you going to do? Lin Tian lay on the sofa, and Wanda looked down at Lin Tian. Why can I feel my brother's breath in you? The next moment, Wanda tilted her head slightly, looking at Lin Tian with a little doubt on her face. She also knows that when people die, there is nothing. She also does not believe in the idea that people have out-of-body reincarnations. But on Lin Tian, she really saw the shadow of Quicksilver. Looking at it suddenly, she really thought it was Quicksilver standing there for a moment just now. But if you look closely, it is still Lin Tian's appearance. This contrast aroused her longing for Quicksilver. After all, she was her only living relative. I don't know, why don't you sit down first, let's have a good chat. At this moment, Lin Tian's heart had only one voice. My special lady can't hold the gun anymore. If you are like this, I will sin. Wanda also seemed to realize that the situation was wrong. Her little face turned red, and she hurriedly let go of the sofa and stood next to it with an embarrassed face. After Lin Tian breathed a sigh of relief, he resumed his gun-pressing technique, took a few deep breaths to calm his mood, and sat up. So can I always be by your side? Wanda saw that Lin Tian was not angry and blamed, like a child who made a mistake, and carefully asked the question in his heart. Children who lack love since childhood are like this, and they are particularly insecure without relatives around. Eat and live? Lin Tian blinked his eyes and asked with deep meaning. After a pause, Wanda hurriedly explained, I can help you with housework. I can cook too. It will not be eaten in vain. Lin Tian looked at Wanda's nervous look, smiled and beckoned, signaling her to sit down. Do you know what the longest way to stay with a man is? Lin Tian put his arm around Wanda's shoulder and said with a bad smile. Wanda shook her head. She was still the same girl who would hide and cry in the war because she was afraid, and she was still ignorant of some things. That's it. Lin Tian said, stretching out a hand. Episode 13. Brother. 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 After the shout, Lin Tian let out a long breath, looking at Wanda who was a little tired next to her. Lin Tian reached out to help her wipe away the sweat beads on her bangs. I'll go change the sheets. After meeting Lin Tian's tender gaze, Wanda blushed and got up to rummage in the closet. After Lin Tian simply put on some clothes, he got up and walked to the window. Looking at the night view of the city through the window, the quiet and bustling beauty cannot be said in 3 words. Four-handed overlord, skillful. Diamond god of war, skillful. Flame man, skillful. Shapeshifter, a little rusty. Flash star. Lin Tian silently recalled the battle picture of each alien. He could feel that several of the newly unlocked aliens, although powerful, were still a little rusty to use. It looks like it should need a little more honing. Lin Tian said in his heart. He knew that when the proficiency of the transformation table reached a certain level, He could not only use the power of two aliens at the same time, but even use their power skillfully without transforming. Imagine that a teenager-like human can not only breathe fire, spray ice cubes, move quickly to immune attack. What would it be like to switch back and forth between various alien superpowers and burst out with good combat power? If the god of war mentioned by GUI really existed, then I am afraid that it would be a complete Lin Tian. No matter how you want to activate the remaining aliens? Lin Tian raised his hand and looked at the transformation table, feeling a little headache. He can't go to the main road every day to find superheroes or supercriminals, see which of them has activation clues, and then fight him, right? So when does he have to find it? And some alien clues may not necessarily be found on Earth. For example, an alien of the perverted level of ex-Superman, looking back at the entire Earth, he really can't find a clue that can activate him. Your uncle, don't give a manual, the whole thing is so troublesome, there is no humanity at all. The more Lin Tian thought about it, the more headache he felt, and he directly reached out and hit the surface to vent his dissatisfaction. Even if it is through a system, the system will briefly say how to use it, but the use of this watch is currently guessed by Lin Tian. He also knew that his self in the human state, no matter how hard he exerted, could not cause harm to the transformation table. Ding ding. Just as Lin Tian vented his dissatisfaction, this surface suddenly bounced up. The gray surface actually lights up when it is not activated. Take a closer look, it is the figure of a woman. Lin Tian subconsciously stretched out his hand to block the watch, turned his head and saw that Wanda had fallen asleep on the new sheets, and the sheets with some blood stains were also thrown into the washing machine by her. After seeing this scene, Lin Tian Kai relaxed his vigilance, he didn't want others to know his secret yet. However, a few inadvertent slaps could make the alien watch take the initiative to release information, which he did not expect. Then, Lin Tian looked down at the picture displayed on the surface. Hela? The surface display is green and black, and there is only one figure on it, and it is difficult to recognize the figure shown on it with the naked eye. But this figure's hair is particularly conspicuous. In Lin Tian's understanding of Marvel, there is really no such hairstyle except Hela. Yes, Thor returned to his planet to deal with family affairs after the Ultron incident, presumably his sister Hela. Is Hela the next alien activation clue? Lin Tian smiled. Now he is not sure if he can win Hela, but with the two whole cards of Ghost and Flash Star, he is not afraid of Hela. So how do I get to Asgard? After deciding to go to Hela, Lin Tian fell into a headache again. Ghosts can survive in a vacuum environment, and it is not a problem to cross the atmosphere into the universe, but in this case, Lin Tian may not be able to fly past until death. For a while, how to get to Asgard became a problem. After thinking quickly for less than 2 seconds, Lin Tian's eyes lit up. Stark Industries. He can steal with the help of shapeshifters. No, go and borrow a spaceship to Asgard. Episode 14. After saying that she was going to disappear for a while, Wanda was obviously a little emotional. Do you not want me anymore? Wanda's eyes were slightly red, grabbed the corner of Lin Tian's clothes, and his voice choked. Wanda, who had just felt a sense of security here in Lin Tian, would inevitably think more when she heard that Lin Tian was going to leave alone. Lin Tian gently took Wanda's hand away, and then put his hands on her shoulders and comforted her softly. No, I will come back after going out for a while, and I won't want you. Finally, after settling Wanda and instructing some matters, Lin Tian was relieved. Go to the window, pull it open, and look down. Now in the morning is the rush hour of work, dense black dots slowly moving on both sides of the road, and the sound of horns is heard from time to time on the road. A dozen high-rise buildings are not very conspicuous in the bustling New York City, but if people who are afraid of heights stand here, I am afraid that they will still be scared. Immediately afterwards, Lin Tian opened his arms, closed his eyes, smiled, took a step, jumped down directly, and let his body fall freely. That person, is he jumping off the building? A passerby looked up and noticed Lin Tian, pointed to his falling body, and exclaimed. This exclamation seems to have found the focus of attention for these boring office workers, and they have looked up. Sure enough, as the passerby said, they clearly saw a figure falling rapidly. You can also vaguely see that this is a teenager. The body fell quickly, and the sound of airflow whistling in my ears. This is undoubtedly a suicidal move in the eyes of others, but Lin Tian is particularly enjoyable. As he got closer and closer to the ground, Lin Tian suddenly opened his eyes. Hands slowly on the ground, the corners of the mouth raised, evoking a smile. In the next moment, 2 blazing flames emanated from Lin Tian's palm and shot straight into the ground. Lin Tian transformed into a flame man again. After the surrounding passers-by felt the high temperature falling from the sky, they subconsciously bent down and hugged their heads to avoid a disaster. But the powerful heat wave still made their sleeves dance and their vision blurred. After the high temperature above their heads gradually disappeared, these passers-by carefully released their heads. Looking up, a demon-like shadow shrouded in flames disappeared from above them. What is it? A passerby looked at Lin Tian's disappearing shadow, swallowed dryly, and said blankly. Just now, they only saw a figure falling, and before their faces could be seen clearly, the figure suddenly turned into a demon covered in flames. Before everyone could react, this demon soared into the sky and disappeared. At this moment, in the conference room of the Avengers building, Tony had seen the picture of Lin Tian transforming into a flame man, and his originally smiling face sank again. Our building should be safe, right? Team America sat in the chair next to him, his hands naturally fell between his knees, looked up at the screen, and confirmed. Hearing this, Tony laughed, stood up and picked up a cup, walked to the cabinet next to it, and said, "The security system I designed can't even fly in with a mosquito, not to mention this flying Olympic torch." Immediately afterwards, Tony poured the wine and took a sip and snapped his fingers. "Friday, show them the work of genius." "Yes, sir." Suddenly, Friday received a signal and turned on the building protection mode. Layers after layers of protective walls fall from the windows, and security measures are activated. The invisible protective shield also invisibly covered the entire edifice. In just a few breaths, this edifice became a heavily defended fortress. The protective wall blocked the windows, and the light in the building was blocked, and Friday carefully increased the lights to restore the light in the house. Seeing this scene, others were much more relieved. Tony, as a genius, has created something that is absolutely extraordinary. And after the last villa bombing, Tony has worked security, and these protective walls can even block missiles. Not to mention Lin Tian's flame. For some reason, since the last time Lin Tian showed his strength, they were full of battle fear for Lin Tian. If it could be avoided, they still longed to avoid fighting Lin Tian in their hearts. "I think if we have the opportunity, we can find this guy to be a barbecue fire. What do you say?" Tony took another sip of wine, licked his lips and the residue of the drink, looked at everyone, and quipped. "That thing is so hot, and the baked thing probably tastes very good." Tony began to play his mouth again and began to pull blindly. Several members of the Black Widow American team shook their heads and laughed helplessly after hearing this. It was obvious that they were used to Tony's way of speaking. "Don't you think what I said?" Tony saw that several people did not respond, and for a while he was very competitive, and was about to say more, but suddenly trembled, turned his head stiffly, and looked at the closed window. He had just heard the whistling of the engine. Someone drove away his spaceship. Moreover, Friday's alarm was not triggered. "Friday, open the window." After hearing the sound of the engine taking off, the American team instantly stood up, walked to the window, and said in a deep voice. "Yes, Mr. Steve." The protective wall in front of him slowly rose, and the vision of the American team widened. Immediately afterwards, he saw a Kuan-type fighter slowly driving in front of his eyes. The originally light blue Kuan-style fighter turned black at this moment. This fighter actually rotated high in the air under his eyelids and posed for a pose. "It's Lin Tian, that guy." Team America recognized the shapeshifter and exclaimed. This is exactly the fighter that Lin Tian operated after transforming into a transformation monster. Tony shook his head godlessly after seeing it. "It's impossible, I specially strengthened the security measures, he can't enter the arsenal and drive away the fighter. Without the password and my fingerprint and retina scan, no one can get in anywhere." Tony's face turned pale, still a little unconvinced. The security system he has just strengthened is also the most satisfactory and proud security system he has been with so far. And this Lin Tian in front of him actually entered without knowing it, and easily drove away a fighter. This result invisibly hit Tony's self-confidence. Tony's brain raced and began to look for security loopholes, but after thinking about it for a long time, he didn't find a single loophole that could be invaded. Suddenly, Tony jerked a spirit, looking at the fighter controlled by Lin Tian, his pupils contracted violently. Unless, this guy has evolved into a new form? Episode 15. When the shapeshifter possessed the Kuan fighter and left, there was silence in the Avengers mansion. Tony's face seems to be dripping. That mud-like mess is simply his nemesis. No matter what technology you make, it can be possessed and controlled. Doesn't that mean that what he worked so hard to create was for this guy? The more I thought about Tony, the more I felt humiliated. When did he, a unique genius, receive this kind of treatment? I feel like I need to build a jar and put this guy in and sink into the ocean. Tony looked in the direction where the Kuan fighter disappeared and gritted his teeth. Lin Tian's honest theft of his things, and ostentatious swaying in front of him twice, looks a little childish, but Tony feels like a provocation. This kid looks a bit like a rogue in Queens, Captain America said with a wry smile. In space, the Kuan-type fighter drilled into the meteorite area, skillfully avoided each meteorite, and drove towards its destination. According to the navigation, Lin Tian controlled the Kuan-type fighter to make space jumps again, and finally, stopped on the Rainbow Bridge. The shapeshifter attached to the fighter quickly shrank to a point, and the fighter also revealed its original color. More than 10 seconds later, the cabin door of the fighter opened and Lin Tian walked out. The Rainbow Bridge exuded colorful light, and every time Lin Tian stepped on, there were clear footsteps. Standing on the Rainbow Bridge and looking at Asgard, various golden palaces rise up, the emerald green forest is like a pearl agate necklace, and the whole planet is beautiful and colorful. At this moment, it is the setting sun, and the golden sun shines on the palace, which looks like a different beauty. Probably because there is no heavy industry pollution here, the air is much fresher. Lin Tian looked at the Rainbow Bridge, and as soon as he stepped down, the watch on his wrist suddenly trembled slightly, and a warm current came. Could it be that there is another activation clue? Lin Tian looked down with a look of anticipation. The picture was as usual, and no news appeared. The figures on the watch screen still switched between the previous aliens, and no new clues appeared. Don't you shine a hammer? Lin Tian was a little disappointed, and then took a step and continued to walk forward. Unexpectedly, when Lin Tian crossed the Rainbow Bridge, no blockers appeared. Even Heimdall, the guardian of the Rainbow Bridge, is not there. The surroundings were quiet and terrifying, only the sound of Lin Tian's footsteps sounding rhythmically. When Lin Tian crossed the Rainbow Bridge and arrived at the square, he already smelled the smell of blood in the air. Bodies all over the ground, rivers of blood. The closer to the palace, the more corpses. Along the way, Lin Tian did not see a single living person. Then, Lin Tian faintly heard the sound of weapons colliding behind the surrounding houses, screaming and laughing, but Lin Tian ignored it and continued to move forward. From a distance, a young man walked through the pile of corpses with an indifferent face and slowly walked into the palace. When the young man crossed the palace and sat on the throne under him suddenly burst into flames. Lin Tian didn't transform, so he used the ability of the Flame Man. Episode 16. Lin Tian sat on the throne very naturally, put his hands on the armrest, and sat there expressionlessly. The majesty of the throne wandered through the palace, and the air became heavy at this moment. The roaring flames engulfed the throne, invisibly adding a sense of oppression again. The flames engulfed the throne, but there was not a trace of burns on Lin Tian's body. Even his clothes are undamaged. Is that how it feels to kill someone? Lin Tian looked at the corpse mountain and the sea of blood at the gate of the palace, and he felt a little indescribable. There was no pity or pathetic virgin's heart, on the contrary, he did not have much emotional fluctuations in his heart, but it was the first time he had seen so many corpses. Sure enough. Lin Tian leaned back, raised his chin, closed his eyes, and chuckled. This is a world of the jungle. As soon as the words fell, a furious aura emanated from Lin Tian's body and ravaged the palace. Since someone has already died, it should be no problem to die a few more, right? Lin Tian opened his eyes, and dazzling flames jumped in his pupils. It may be that the structure of God domain Asgard and the earth is different, and after coming here, Lin Tian obviously felt that there was an extra warm current in his body swimming in his body. It was this power from Asgard that allowed him to evolve the Flame Man to the highest realm. Now, he doesn't have to transform, he can also use the ability of the Flame Man. Gada. 2 minutes later, crisp footsteps came from the palace door. Immediately after, Hela walked in. Next to her, followed an executioner with an axe in his hand. Skulch. And behind Hela, there are countless undead armies riding dead beasts, holding spears, floating in the air. Seeing that her throne was sat down by a strange teenager, Hela did not overreact, but after rubbing the 2 daggers in her hand back and forth, she turned her head and looked at Lin Tian with a smile. Little ghost, didn't anyone tell you not to touch other people's things without their permission? Hela, as the goddess of death, looks and figures are top-notch existences. If you just look at her tilting her head and smiling like this, there is really a bit of charm that the goddess of high and cold takes the initiative to greet. You don't seem to have killed enough? Lin Feng answered the question and said with a smile. Not as good. Try killing me? The next moment, the throne rose from the ground and floated in midair. The throne flame blooms and illuminates the entire palace. Suddenly, the coercion exuding from Lin Tian's body skyrocketed exponentially. Skulch was similar in combat to the Asgardian guards, only to survive when he defected at a critical moment. In the end, he was still immortal. Feeling Lin Tian's overwhelming coercion, he couldn't help but snort. His face was pale, the corners of his mouth spilled a little blood, and his body took 2 steps back uncontrollably, and unprecedented fear appeared on his face. This fear, even when facing hellish slaughter, did not appear. Now Lin Tian has faintly become the god of war. The rise in temperature and the spread of flames made the army of undead outside the palace show timidity. From the ascension of the throne to the ravages of divine power, from beginning to end, Lin Tian sat quietly on the throne. It seems that you are interested in my throne? Hela's body resisted Lin Tian's divine power, but that pretty face sank. She felt a crisis in Lin Tian, and this crisis was related to her life and death. Shred him for me. Hela suddenly raised his knife and swung it at Lin Tian, sending out a burst of scolding. Under Hela's order, the undead beasts under these countless undead armies collectively let out a roar, opening their teeth and dancing their claws and rushing towards Lin Tian. And those army of undead held spears in their hands and faced Lin Tian, ready to kill Lin Tian with one blow after the dead beast approached. For them, they have long lost their minds, and Hela's words are like orders, which cannot be resisted. And their order now is to tear Lin Tian on the throne. At this moment, outside the palace, a spaceship descended and walked down several people. At the head, it is the god of thunder who came to seek revenge. Banner and Valkyrie stood behind him. Coming together, there are also everyone from the Guardians of the Galaxy. As soon as they got off the spaceship, they saw the scene of a dense army of undead rushing into the palace. Thunder God also recognized Lin Tian from the dazzling firelight. How could it be this guy? With his only remaining eye, Thunder God stared at Lin Tian and frowned and wondered. Isn't this guy on Earth? Why did you suddenly run to Asgard? Is this really your own sister? How does it look better than you? A lot more fierce? Xingjue saw the fierce Hela holding 2 daggers in his hand, and he had the intention of retreating. We're running now, is it still time? Star-Lord's gaze swept over the 3 Valkyries of Thunder God Banner and blinked. Gamora, clasping her hands over her shoulders, shook her head and gave a look of hopelessness. Rocket Raccoon also shook his head. This guy messed with Hela. It is estimated that he will finish playing Shang-Tsung soon, and we can also prepare to run. The others sighed and did not speak, acquiescing to this ending. They also met the 3 of Thor by chance in the universe and came with the mentality of helping. At that time, Lei Shan righteously said that it was his own sister, which belonged to a family conflict and would not be in much danger. But after coming and seeing this scene, they found that Nima was completely fooled by Thor. But at the moment, they couldn't care about complaining, because a teenager was about to die in front of them. Then, several of them saw that Lin Tian on the throne was lazily holding his head with one hand, and snapping his fingers casually with the other. Boom! With a bang, like a tsunami, a large sea of fire behind Lin Tian rushed in, directly flooding the entire palace. Those army of undead, including the executioners, were all burned to ashes. Episode 17. In an instant, the army of the undead was all destroyed. Burned to ashes. Eileen. Xingju was stunned, as if he had seen a ghost, looking at Lin Tian on the throne. His heart trembled wildly. This guy can actually breathe fire? He can set fire, you can discharge electricity, you two are brothers, right? Star-Lord turned his head to look at the same expression and exclaimed. Thor frowned after hearing this. This guy, what are you talking about? Thor, he forgot to take his medicine today, just ignore it. The raccoon clasped his hands on his shoulders and bowed his head helplessly. Why is Tony on Earth a genius? Hela, the leader of the army of the undead, a monster, the leader of the poachers, a righteous master, and the leader of their Guardians of the Galaxy, a second force who doesn't like to take medicine. There is really a gap between people. I am Groot. The moment the young Groot saw the flames coming out of the palace, he hid behind the raccoon. Although it keeps a safe distance, as a tree body, it still has a natural fear of flames. Groot, don't curse. After hearing this, Gamora turned her head and taught sternly. He cursed? Who to scold? At a young age, in addition to playing games, is it to swear? Did your parents let Shell help when they fertilized? Star-Lord couldn't understand Groot's language for the time being, but from Gamora's words, he guessed the general content of Groot's words. As captain, he still believes that he has the need to educate his teammates. He said you were a shame. You're a second force who hasn't taken medicine, it's best to shut up. The raccoon raised Groot and silently assumed the responsibility of parenthood. Hearing Xingju's words, he showed dissatisfaction, jumped up directly with a grin, and kicked Xingju's knee. Whoosh! Star-Lord hugged his knees and let out a scream. The Valkyrie looked at this person and beast with a black question mark face. How do I think? Neither of them took medicine. Hela, so strong. Banner, who lifted the Hulk state, looked at Hela, who was intact, and said solemnly. Thor nodded. Her power comes from Asgard. As long as she is in Asgard, her strength will become stronger and stronger. Inside the palace, Hela turned her head to look at the large ashes turned into by the army of the undead at the gate of the palace, and her pretty face became gloomy. You killed my subordinates. Hela stared at Lin Tian, who was still sitting on the throne above, and gritted her teeth. Yes, so what? Sitting here and being killed by you? Lin Tian asked lightly. The throne belongs to me. Staring at the throne under Lin Tian, Hela's tone was filled with a piercing chill. Then you are. Lin Tian smiled, stood up, and walked off the throne. The throne was burning with fire and hanging in the air, but every time Lin Tian's foot fell, there would be a green diamond staircase to pave the way for him. He transforms into the diamond god of war. He also knew that flames alone could not kill Hela. The battle of all kings will end in blood. The throne was still suspended in the air, and on the ground, Lin Tian's transformed diamond god of war stood opposite Hela. In the face of Lin Tian's transformation, Hela did not hesitate, directly grabbed the dagger with both hands, and rushed over. She and Odin have been fighting for so many years, and she has seen many strange aliens, so her rich combat experience tells her that no matter who the other party is, as long as she is strong enough, she can cut off his head. And now she is in Asgard, her strength is also increasing with time. Facing Lin Tian, she has the certainty of victory. Facing Hela, who rushed up, the diamond god of war did not immediately respond to the enemy, but reached out and fired 4 diamond daggers on the ground. The next moment, the palms of the red hands on all 4 limbs pulled out the 4 diamond daggers inserted in the ground. Lin Tian, from the diamond god of war to the Four-Handed Overlord. Seeing Lin Tian appear in a new form again, Hela had a hint of obvious hesitation. How could this guy still transform? It was this hesitation that Lin Tian seized the opportunity and rushed directly up. 2 blue diamond daggers stabbed straight at Hela's head. Hela hurriedly raised her hands and blocked them with her dagger. The moment the dagger and diamond touched, there was a shrill collision sound. But the next moment, 2 more daggers stabbed her abdomen. Four-Handed Overlord, but there are Four-Handed Overlords. 2 diamond daggers stabbed into Hela's body, and no blood flowed out. Hela's body also has a certain self-healing ability and protective ability. After taking 2 steps back, Hela clenched the dagger in both hands and stared at Lin Tian with a bad face. I advise you to give up. My strength will continue to increase. You can't kill me. A few seconds later, a smug smile appeared on Hela's face. Surrender to me, I can give you a way to live, and you can accompany me to fight together. At that time, we can easily lay down this universe. Sit on a bigger throne. Hela opened her arms, closed her eyes, and reveled in her own imagination. Undoubtedly, Lin Tian's combat power has an upper limit, but Hela in Asgard, there is no upper limit to his strength. If it goes on like this, it must be Lin Tian who dies. This is also the result that Hela expected. Actually, here. My strength is also increasing. Lin Tian's Four-Handed Overlord smiled embarrassedly and said the facts he had just discovered. Asgard is full of magical power, and here, the Shapeshifter is constantly absorbing this huge power. Lin Tian's strength is also constantly increasing. What? This sentence was like a basin of cool water poured on Hela's head, and the smile that had just appeared on her face quickly froze. Stiffly returning his gaze to Lin Tian, Hela's lips opened slightly, and his face was terrified. This guy can also absorb Asgard's power? After that, the two fell into a battle of cold weapons again. The Four-Handed Overlord in the state of constant power supply, whether it is strength or speed, has been greatly blessed. The sound of weapons colliding is constant. With 4 diamond daggers in hand, Hela, who actually beat him, was defeated one after another. This battle, which was evenly matched and even won by Hela, turned into Lin Tian's one-sided beating. Outside the palace, after seeing this scene, Xingju lowered his head, sighed with sympathy, stretched out his hand and patted Thor's shoulder, and said, "The sister sealed by your father can absorb power here, and this mysterious boy can also absorb power here. But you, Odin's eldest son, cannot. I don't say the relationship between this, you also understand, right?" Thor turned his head to look at Xingju in confusion. What do you mean? Star-Lord raised his head and glanced at Thor, patted him on the shoulder again, and sighed. Thor, your dad. It may be green. Episode 18. The battle between Lin Tian and Hela hit from the ground to the top of the palace, and from the palace to the ground, leaving one knife mark after another on the palace for a while. The two fought in full swing, seemingly inseparable, but the people of the Thunder God not far away found that this battle was clearly Lin Tian who had the upper hand. Hela was already exhausted and had no ability to fight back just by dealing with Lin Tian's 4 arms. In the end, the 4 diamond daggers in Lin Tian's hands shattered and cracked, and the four-handed overlord simply threw down the daggers, bare hands, and blasted towards Hela with one punch and one punch. The four-handed overlord punched, Hela subconsciously blocked the dagger in front of him. When the tiger's mouth cut through the airflow and bombarded the blade surface, there was a muffled sound, the dagger quickly cracked, and then directly cracked and shattered. Lin Tian couldn't help but say, another punch struck. Hela hurriedly pulled out a dagger again while retreating, blocking it in front of him. As expected, the dagger cracked again and turned into powder and fell from the air. Is this guy really human? Everyone saw that Hela, who was as powerful as the goddess of death, was defeated one after another under Lin Tian's fist, and subconsciously swallowed his saliva, and the same thought arose in their hearts. Didn't Thor say that Hela easily crushed his hammer and was extremely powerful? Why is it that now in front of Lin Tian, he only has to be beaten? Bang! In midair, Lin Tian punched Hela, and Hela saw that she didn't have time to react, and her combat experience helped her make a choice. Crossing your hands and placing them on your chest is the best way to protect your heart in the current situation. Click. His arms blocked most of the damage, but he still didn't lower his fists to hit a huge impact. A punch slammed into both arms, and under the brute force of the fist, both arms smashed into Hela's chest together. This punch blasted out, and Hela's body in midair fell directly to the ground, smashing a huge hole in the ground. Hela, who was lying on the ground, was just about to stand up, and with a poof, she spat out a mouthful of blood. She could clearly feel that the bones in her whole body had broken in a large area. She easily slaughtered the city, but at this moment, she couldn't even use the strength to stand up. The hand-to-hand combat ability of these four-handed overlords is comparable to the infinitely angry Hulk with the blessing of Asgard's power. Fenrir. Hela closed her eyes and said coldly. Her voice was weak and full of unwillingness, and she had silently accepted some kind of ending in her heart. Roar. A roar suddenly came from deep underground, and then the ground cracked, and a pair of green eyes in the darkness, with a little cold light, cast out. In just an instant, Fenrir broke through the ground, jumped up and rushed towards Lin Tian, opened his mouth, revealed his giant teeth, and actually wanted to swallow Lin Tian in one gulp. This Fenrir looks like a wolf, but with a huge size, and in the Thor 3 movie, it was this giant wolf that bit the Hulk. The four-handed overlord who is still stuck in midair, although his strength is strong and his reaction is agile, but in midair, he has no ability to move and dodge. It is clear that Hela also observed this. The four-handed overlord is a ground combat type and has no ability to fly. This Fenrir, who lurks underground, is her last whole card. If he was swallowed by Fenrir, no matter how strong his body was, in a few minutes, Lin Tian would turn into a pile of blood bones. At that time, it will still be her who wins. It's over. Shouldn't this four-handed god of war be eaten by this big dog? Star-Lord said worriedly after seeing it. I'll help you kill it. The battle-fighting destroyer Drax could no longer hold back his belligerence, pulled out his 2 daggers, and rushed over with a shout. But his speed of movement and Fenrir, who jumped upwards, were nothing to mention. Drax has always been known for being reckless and brainless, and at this moment, too, for him, there is no plan. Banner took off his glasses and covered his eyes, unwilling to look at the next picture. He has experience in transforming into the Hulk, and it can be said that the four-handed overlord is completely another copy of the Hulk. They have the same drawback, that is, in the air combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. Lin Tian also noticed Fenrir flying towards him on the ground, and did not react much. Then, under the gaze of everyone, the corners of Fenrir's mouth seemed to be torn apart, and opened to the maximum. The distance is infinitely pulled in, within reach. And Lin Tian's 2 right hands clenched his fists at the same time, and his arms were bent and pulled to charge power. Like a machine, both arms move in unison. Even the lines fit perfectly. After a short charge, 2 punches burst out, mixed with brutal and domineering power, as if to smash everything. Even when the 2 fists slammed into Fenrir's head, a trace of distortion appeared in the surrounding void. Poof. The moment the 2 fists touched Fenrir's head, Fenrir didn't have time to scream, and his head directly turned into a cloud of blood mist, leaving only a headless corpse in midair for a few seconds before smashing to the ground. Episode 19. Fenrir's body happened to fall in front of Drax, and his huge figure directly blocked his way. Drax blinked, then turned to look at Thor. I haven't made a move yet. Lin Tian's body slowly descended, and the Agni throne, which had been floating in midair, also slowly flew behind him. Lin Tian lifted his deformation state, turned into a short-haired boy, and landed steadily in front of Hela. There seemed to be some magnetic link between the throne and Lin Tian, still following behind him. I'm not convinced. Hela stood there, seeing Lin Tian's arrival, as if stimulated by something. She suddenly vented her emotions at Lin Tian. The delicately styled long hair was also scattered here, and it looked a little embarrassing. It was Odin who raised me into a warrior. It is also him. Let's go through the baptism of war. All this from me was given by Odin. Hela was like a child who still had grievances. Her eyes were slightly red, and her emotions were out of control, and she roared. But when I grew up, he sealed me because he was afraid of my strength. I just want to ask, why? He made me like this, and I became what he expected. I have fought countless victories for him. But why did he seal me? He's my father. Hela almost shouted the words in a growling tone. After the last sentence was spoken, Hela seemed to have spent all her strength, no longer having the style of the goddess of death, like a girl whose toys had been taken away, crying bitterly. The black hair was also dancing in the wind, and this scene looked a little sad. After seeing this scene, Thor also sighed, and there was a little bit of a taste in his heart. But, you killed these people, didn't you? After 2 seconds of silence, Lin Tian spoke softly. I just wanted to take a breath. Hela raised her head and looked at Lin Tian with grim eyes. This is the price that Odin should pay. Hela gritted her teeth. Lin Tian shook his head without speaking, and then stretched out a hand and gently placed it on Hela's forehead. Boom. If I don't kill you, you'll kill me, right? Lin Tian muttered. Hela froze after hearing this, and looked at the face of the boy in front of her with a dull gaze. If you return to Asgard this time, you can see that Hela is a very vindictive person. Odin once called her a death maniac. In her eyes, human life is like grass. Today Lin Tian does not kill her, she will definitely take the initiative to seek revenge in the future. No. The next moment, a flame shot out from Lin Tian's hand, directly flooding Hela's head. The flames lasted for a second, and after disappearing, Hela's body lost control, fell to her knees, and a few seconds later, she fell down with a pop. Hela, goddess of death, die. Fenrir's body then turned into a point of light along with Hela and disappeared in place. After the point of light disappeared, the audience was dead silent. Hela just died? Looking at Lin Tian's calm face, Xingjue licked his dry lips and waved to pat Thor's shoulder, but he slapped Thor's face 3 times in a row. Thor felt a fleshy hand touching his face, and was about to get angry, when the hand moved from his face to his shoulder. Muscular man, now that your sister is dead, is it time for you to fight with this teenager? Episode 20. Lin Tian had already noticed Thor's group, but this group hadn't disturbed his battle with Hela just now, so he didn't pay attention to them either. Now that the battle was over, he naturally paid attention to a few people. Thunder God and Lin Tian's eyes touched, the air quickly solidified, and everyone's heartbeat accelerated. They had all seen Lin Tian's terrifying combat power just now, and judging from the fact that he could not change his face after killing Hela, this guy might not be a good person. And the one who most intuitively felt Lin Tian's horror was Thor. In the Ultron incident, he had personally seen Lin Tian make a move. Compared with that time this time, his strength can be said to have increased exponentially, and even Odin's throne has changed to him. Of course, this may be the reason why Lin Tian was turned into a god of war by Gui. Meeting everyone's timid or nervous gazes, Lin Tian walked in front of the gods, with a smile. Thunder God looked at Lin Tian in front of him, a little inexplicably embarrassed, and was about to subconsciously swing the hammer to slap the palm to relieve the embarrassment, when he suddenly remembered that his hammer was destroyed by Hela, and finally clenched his fist with his other hand, habitually slapping his palm. Aha! You've come all the way over, haven't eaten yet? Thunder God suddenly realized something, looked at Lin Tian and raised his eyebrows and asked. In this extremely tense atmosphere, several people from the Guardians of the Galaxy were thinking that Thor was going to say something cruel to intimidate Lin Tian, when they heard his host's warm greeting. People killed your sister in front of you, but you asked people if they had eaten? As soon as the sound of thunder fell, before Lin Tian had time to react, a violent roar suddenly sounded. A powerful and brutal force raged in Thunder God's body, making him unable to stop roaring up to the sky. Immediately afterwards, with Thor as the origin, a large-scale crack appeared in the surrounding ground, as if something was about to break through the ground. Boom! A huge thunder suddenly fell in the sky and slashed straight at Thor. One thunder and lightning bolt after another drilled out from the ground, directly climbing on the Thunder God. Suddenly, there was a sea of thunder around Thor. Several people from the Galaxy Guardians hurriedly retreated away, and only Lin Tian was still standing there. What is the situation? Could it be that this discharged and fire-breathing one is dripping blood to recognize their relatives? Star-Lord, one of Marvel's 4 big-mouth cannons, did not stop even if he hid. Banner stared closely at the god of thunder in the Sea of Thunder and quickly shook his head. No, this looks like a test, or an awakening. The furious Sea of Thunder covered this area, and at this moment, the thunder god's arms were bruised, and the endless power made him constantly roar and roar. Even he now has tiny lightning bolts swimming between his hair. Lei Hai's torture lasted for 2 minutes, and after the thunderstorm in the sky stopped chopping, there were still flashes of electricity in the air, but Thor grew a breath of turbid gas, which looked much more relaxed than just now. I seem to have seen my father just now. Thor looked down at his hands. He could feel that the hands that had held the hammer before had become a little stronger after Lei Hai's baptism. Now he seems to have endless strength? I've become stronger? Thor looked at his hands and said in surprise. Thor has just awakened the power of thunder and lightning and has become a real thunder god. The next moment, who was immersed in surprise, suddenly like a thread, the power continued to dissipate. Looking up, he saw that his body was constantly flying into Lin Tian's body with thunder and lightning. It chose me. Lin Tian stretched out his hand and said calmly. At this moment, a thunderbolt flew into Lin Tian's fingertips and entered Lin Tian's body. The newly awakened power of thunder and lightning in Thunder God's body was constantly transferring to Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian's deformation table then lit up with blue light, and the electromagnetic macho progress bar was slowly expanding. Lin Tian awakened a new alien. And at this moment, a huge fleet in space is heading towards Asgard. On the fleet, it is Thanos,